Hello, good morning. Elizabeth Smith here, and we've met halfway through the week. It's Wednesday, and we're here for another self-coaching broadcast from the Guru Co. Anyway, today is Let's Talk Rejection. It's not the happiest of topics. However, it's something that I feel really passionate about and something that we can all develop a coping strategy for. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's valuable to you. As always, hashtag replay if you can't be with me this morning. And I'd love to speak to you. If you want to leave me any messages or any comments, I'll always come back to you. And do share the videos whenever you feel that somebody might be in need of it. So yeah, so I'm talking about rejection. So it's something that most of us, if not all of us, have experienced in our lives, and something that we actually experience on a minute by minute, day by day basis. This is real life. So if you think about it, and there's always these degrees of which we actually receive it. So if you think about it, ring ring, hi, do you fancy coffee today? Oh no, I don't, I'm busy. Oh, okay, see you next week. No damage done. Hi, I'd like to have this job. Can I have this job? No, you can't. It's like, gutted, move on. So what is it that suddenly seems to get within our system where we won't pick up the phone to do something, or we won't go to a party because of rejection, or we won't join in a new group or something because we're fearful of what might happen. They might not like us. We might have a reluctance to go and do any studies because people might think we're stupid or we're not as intelligent as each other, or we might hate going to a social event because of rejection. So what is it that of all those other types of rejection do we suddenly get this massive impact, this almost like this huge block in us that says, oh, you can't do that, no, oh, you're best to stay at home, stay safe. You know, what actually starts happening to us? Well, my theory is we start building up, hi Lisa, we start building up some barriers in us, and it's a protective thing. It's a real need to feel part of a group. We are not solo individuals on this planet. You know, it is part of being part of a group, being part of the safety net of having people around us. So that rejection thing is a real importance, but we make it so massive that come hell or high water, it's almost we sell our souls to belong. And that's really where I'm coming from. So it's about, if you think about how many thousands of people you have had contact with. Now, it doesn't have to be face-to-face contact, be in a traffic jam, it can be in a supermarket, it can be waiting to pay for your stuff, it can be in a social event, it can be during work hours. Think of how many thousands of people you've had interactions with. And along the way, many of them will have rejected your ideas, rejected your advances, rejected your suggestions, but without any impact. And yet those one or two have had a huge impact on you, major impact on you. So if you look at the percentage and the threat, are you really going to ruin your life just by one or two? Seriously, at the end of the day, those people out there that could be friends, could be colleagues, or whatever you want to call them, at the end of the day, are they going to be with you when you truly, truly need them? Quite often not. They've moved on. They won't even know that they've had that impact on you. It's worth thinking about, because we do put our brakes on ourselves by doing these things. We interpret things, we make it a whole story for us, and it becomes really real. And yet actually when you look at it and you take out the emotion, it is just an action, it is just a situation, it is just an incident. So if you've had any of those, just think about them, just start to recall them. You know, it's that it's that film show that we continuously play to ourselves in order to keep ourselves safe. But sometimes we have to think about, is it reality or is it our own internal reality? We are surrounded by, very unfortunately, toxic people. We just are. There are millions of toxic people in this world. You will find that they are surrounding you in a crisis, giving you lots of information, really driven, it's not fair, it's not fair, we're right behind you, we're right behind you. But they're not there when there's joy to be had, when there's success to be celebrated, when people have had a breakthrough. They're very unlikely to be there. And this is when you often find the rejection really painful, because you've confided in them in a crisis. You've relied on them. You've shared your soul and you've bared your vulnerabilities to them. And then that moment when actually it's about sharing the joy, the breakthrough, when you're back on your feet and everything, and then you find them regrouping elsewhere, not including you. So there's this expulsion from the group, if that makes sense. People become very tribal, and especially if you're a new person within a group, people become really vastly tribal. We have great innate sense of and compassion and ability to love and ability to be warm and nurturing, but also the human being has the ability to be vile, to be violent, to be aggressive, to be hostile, and to really make sure that somebody is kept out. So complete and utter exile. And I think, I can remember school days, I can remember work, being really sort of where you're being sent to Coventry. And it was a horrific feeling, absolutely horrific. And anyone who has been under that bullying umbrella, especially in work where you don't know where the heck to turn to, is really damaging. And it's damaging to your physical health as well as your mental health. So think about this tribal behavior. We all have light and dark sides to our personalities, all of us. And when things are going well and we're feeling strong inside, we will show that warmth, that loving generosity, that space for taking on all sorts of different things. But when somebody is under threat that we care for, say for instance, my grandchildren or my children, my dark side is there. Now, I think I have a much more controlled way of showing my dark side. But I think that's because of all the work that I've done and all the self-coaching that I do and everything, all my readings and things like that. But an awful lot of people haven't done that. So you get that raw, animalistic, tribal projection onto you, if that makes sense. So I read something years ago when I was doing my training and nursing, or I've just noticed, sorry, I hope that isn't off-putting for everybody, where I was during my training days of being a nurse, and they talk about this nursing being like a hen coop, and there's a pecking order. Someone new comes into it, they've done nothing wrong, they've shown nothing but compassion and warmth and welcome for everybody because they're new, let alone anything else. They don't know who their friends are, they don't know who they can rely on or anything like that, but they have become a threat to the pecking order. And these people who display their dark side more often than not, or if they've displayed their light side and they haven't been embraced the same way as they think they should have done, they're feeling rejected. They feel rejected, even though this person isn't trying to reject them. And then we get this whole mess of pecking. And I've watched it in my own hen coop, where my new hen has been pecked raw to death, one of them, which was horrific. But we do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves all the time. So be aware of it. Be aware that even though you don't think you've done anything, the threat is there by the fact of your very presence within the group is enough to send some people off and show that dark side to you. Now, how do we think about this as self-coaching? Well, to start with, I would suggest that we don't attempt to justify ourselves, because As far as we know, we don't know what we're justifying. What others do is what others do. How we react to it, how we respond to it is all ours. That's the only thing we can control. So my suggestion for self-coaching is that we go back to ourselves, we realign ourselves with our values, our light side, we check in with ourselves, and then we work out what is the film we are continuously playing to ourselves in this situation. And believe you me, thinking about those bully days and the times when I've been rejected, you continuously go over the past however long, all the things you've tried to do for somebody else, all the nice things that you've tried to do and how you've responded to them, how you have gone out of your way for things and how hard you've worked. And then you crush yourself. So you then start having a dialogue with yourself. Well, I'm obviously not good enough. Well, obviously there's something I'm doing wrong because it's happened again. And those sorts of things. Now, if that's what you're playing in your head, I suggest you start thinking about a new dialogue to have with yourself. Put on a power ballad, put on something strong, play a different tune in your head, go back into yourself, realign yourself with your values. Know that you, if you have only shown your light star, your light side, is what we want to keep. So repackage it, just anchor yourself back in, confirm with yourself what your value is to the world and what you want to project to the world, and raise yourself up out of this. I hope you found that really helpful. If you know anybody else who's going through this, especially when we've got work situations going on and people re-enter work and they've moved to a different area and they're trying to bed themselves in, it is a real issue. And anyone who's studied group behavior, this will sound really familiar to you. The norming and the storming and everything, it'll sound so familiar to you. But just know that you're a good person. Go back in. If you need to make adjustments, make adjustments. It's okay. If you've shown your dark side, it's okay. This is about the learning. So do I leave that with you, and I wish you a happy day, and I will see you on Friday. Bye-bye for now.